Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Brunch with Mike Missanelli. A recap of the Eagles game the day before. Of course, the Eagles winning last night, 29-18 over the Commanders. And I rarely do this with the Eagles hat, but today I got to a tribute for the Eagles. Although the game wasn't pretty, it was the Eagles clinching the NFC East, first repeat championship in 21 years in the NFC East. So that's significant for the Eagles. Last time they did it was 2004 with Donovan McNabb, of course, as the quarterback. So a significant achievement. And we're going to pick apart this game and the little nuances and the little flaws and the little highlights of this game. But pretty heady stuff that the Eagles can win another division championship. And now it's up to the playoff seeding. And we'll follow it over the last couple of weeks to see who the Eagles are going to play in that first round as they clinch a playoff spot. And it looks like they clinch a number 3 seed, but it is still possible that they could get the number 1 seed. So, first of all, let me say a few things about Nick Sirianni. I've been critical of Nick Sirianni in the past, but Nick Sirianni last night, 5th straight playoff appearance for Nick Sirianni, and he's one of 3 coaches to make the playoffs and win a division 3 times in his first 5 years. Chuck Knox and Bill Cowher are the other, but they didn't win the Super Bowl like Nick Sirianni did. So kudos to Nick Sirianni. He's got the magic touch with this football team. This was a Saquon Barkley game. Saquon Barkley with a big 132 rushing yards and a touchdown. It's his 3rd game of 100-plus rush yards this year. Jalen Hurts, 22 of 30 for 185 and 2 touchdowns as the Eagles continue to find ways to run the football. All right, it didn't look spectacular, especially in the first half and especially with the special teams. Their drives in the first half, fumble, kickoff, punt, touchdown, missed field goal. But in the end, a great scramble throw by Hurts to Goddard in the 3rd quarter ended a wild 17-play drive. And then Cooper DeJean with an interception off of Josh Dobbs leads to Saquon crunching and grinding that final 12-yard touchdown to make it 21-10. And at that point, there's no way that Josh Dobbs was going to bring the Commanders back in any form at all. All right, special teams, again, we talked about it. 2 messed up kick returns, both by Shipley. Fumbles the one. Had a little uncertainty on the second where he didn't know whether he was going to return it or not. That can't happen. And 3 missed field goals, only 2 really officially, but almost consecutive field goal misses by Jake Elliott, same spot, pulling it left. So we have to worry about that going into the playoffs. Barkley's rushing total, he went over 130 yards with 5 minutes left in this game, but had only 52 yards late in the 3rd quarter. So he really turned it on in the end. He had a big 48-yard rush there, which broke the game open. And this was, the 3rd 100-plus game for Barkley. Last 4 games, this is very significant. Last 4 games, the Eagles have averaged 4.96 yards per carry, as opposed to before that, they were 3.91. So they're making concerted effort to run the football, and this is paying off. The Eagles' formula is play good defense, run the football, get a lot under center, have the quarterback run a little more, conservative passing, occasional big play. That's been the formula for the Philadelphia Eagles here as they come down the stretch. All right. Let's get to our stats of the game. We'll go over the stats here, first of all. The Eagles, 29. Jalen Hurts, of course, 22 for 30 for 185, 2 touchdowns, a rating of 111.1. Saquon, 21 carries for 132 yards, an average of 6.3. His long was 48. Tank Bigsby comes in the game a little late, goes 4 carries for 37 yards, including a big touchdown. Tanner McKee did see some action in this game. A.J. Brown targeted 12 times, 9 catches for 95 yards, 10.6 average. Did not get into the end zone, but Devontae Smith did. 6 catches on 8 targets for 42 yards. 7.0 average. And then Dallas Goedert got involved late in the game, 3 catches for 32 with the big touchdown catch, 10.7 yards. Jahan Dotson had a couple of catches. Shipley had a catch. But the Eagles fumbled the ball a couple of times. Hurts fumbled once, did not lose that fumble, though. And on defense, the usual. Zach Bong with 9 total tackles. Jordan Davis, who's been playing like a monster, 6 tackles, 4 of them solo, 2 tackles for losses. Jahad Campbell played a lot in this game because Nakobe Dean got hurt early in the game. We'll go over the play-by-play of this in a minute. Let's go to the Washington Commanders. Marcus Mariota played the majority of this game, 7 of 14 for 95 yards. Got his hand stepped on. Had also a groin problem, was limping around. So Josh Johnson had to come in the game. And as I'm taking notes, as soon as Josh Johnson comes in the game, I go, game's over. There's no way. I mean, this guy has been with 140 teams. He's a terrible quarterback, a bad backup. There was no way he was going to rally them. Chris Rodriguez did have 15 carries for 63 yards for them. Terry McLaurin receiving 3 catches. Debo had 3 catches, and Treylon Burks had a couple of catches. But the Eagles decidedly on the big end, they almost had 400 total yards in this game, even though it was not overly impressive. Now, this is good enough to win the game, but is it good enough overall? Well, there's one columnist from the Philadelphia Inquirer who doesn't think so. And let me just read what Mike Sealski had to write today in the Philadelphia Inquirer. Jake Elliott missed field goal tries of 43, 57, and 52, all wide left, the last 2 almost consecutively. Hurts missed A.J. Brown with an easy third down pass. That went off. It was high, but maybe A.J. could have caught that. Will Shipley fumbled the opening kickoff, which gifted the Commanders 3 points. Yeah, it was a gift. Then he brought another out of the end zone, kneeling, which would have given them the ball at the 35, but it wound up costing the Eagles 16 yards. Near the end of the half, the Eagles had to call a timeout coming out of a timeout. And this is what he says. This is not the stuff of champions. Well, maybe NFC East champions, but the NFC East stinks this year. And besides, the NFC East championship is not the goal, is it? Super Bowl LX is the goal, and it seemed unrealistic after Saturday. There were just too many glaring mistakes and omissions. So we'll get back to that a little later in the show, whether they're good enough to actually pull this thing off or not. They've beaten the Raiders and they've beaten the Commanders, 2 lousy teams in the last couple of weeks. They have scored some points. They've scored 60 points in those 2 games, which is a lot of points, which is a lot more than they had been scoring. And the defense has played very well in both of those games, obviously. The Commanders got a late touchdown, was kind of meaningless in this game. So the formula is good defense, occasional good offense. Is that good enough to win the whole thing? Well, we'll have to get to that in a little bit during this show. Let's get to our sound bites of the game. First of all, the winning coach, Nick Sirianni, on winning the NFC division.
It's always good when the guys experience that, the guys that haven't won one experience it for the first time. That's always a gratifying thing. But excitement, it's hard. It's hard to do this. Obviously, in this division, we've seen, the data says, it's hard to repeat as winners in this division. We're happy about that. We'll celebrate it. We've got a lot to clean up, and then, we got a lot more goals on our mind.
All right, that's Nick. There are a lot more goals on their mind. It's such a mystery at this point whether they're good enough. Fans are out there going, yeah, they're good enough. No, they're not good enough. Yeah, they're good enough. It's hard to gauge. Now, against the Buffalo Bills, that will be a bigger test next week, obviously. But it's hard to gauge how good this Philadelphia Eagle team is in relation to the other teams in the conference. You got the Rams and the Seahawks playing at a really high level. The Bears won again last night. So right now the Bears have a lock on that number 2 seed with the Eagles 3, and the 49ers can still move up. So it remains to be seen who the Eagles are going to play. Right now, the playoff picture, and if I had to project it, I would say that the Eagles are going to play the 49ers in that first round. But right now, Seahawks or Rams with the number 1 seed, Bears 2, Eagles 3, Bucks by winning the division 4 by default. Rams or Seahawks are in the 5 spot. 49ers right now in the 6th spot. It could very well be that the 49ers pass the Rams or the Seahawks, and the Eagles would be in a first-round match with either of those 2 teams. And then the Packers losing last night did them no favors, but they're still in the 7th spot. Let's hear from Nick Sirianni on, the tush-push has not been very successful this year. People have caught on to the tush-push. The officials are now officiating it differently, where they're looking for false starts, and the Eagles have been guilty of that. But the tush-push is not an effective weapon for the Eagles anymore, and they probably got to find some kind of a different solution to this. Here was Nick Sirianni in Washington stopping the tush-push yesterday.
Yeah, teams adjust. We got to continue to adjust. I think, credit to them. They did a really good job of stopping us there. And then also, they got us to jump off sides and put us back. What I was really encouraged by, obviously you don't want penalties, especially pre-snap penalties. And we have to clean those up, and we have to get this play working the way it's been in the past, which we'll work our butts off to do so. But we really were able to overcome. Jalen throws the Smitty touchdown, after the first one, and then we get a hold after the other one where Jahan gets the touchdown, and then we complete it to Dallas, kind of a broken play. So we were able to overcome, and that's what this game's about. There's ups and downs throughout this game, and there was ups and downs through this game, and we were able to overcome, and hats off to our guys.
All right. Now, the tush push didn't hurt them, obviously, because they did find Goddard for the touchdown. But this is kind of problematic. The way I look at the tush push is this. It's such an advantage for the offensive team on the tush push. There's no reason to jump. There really isn't. You got all that weight behind you anyway. Don't jump. Just get the snap and plow through. I think these guys are getting a little too eager because they think the opposition is piling up trying to stop it, and they have to get a jump on it. But I don't think you do. I don't think you have to get a jump on a tush push. Just play it straight. You've got all the leverage behind you that you need. If you don't commit a penalty in that situation, it's going to be successful. So we'll see what they do from this point on. All right, Jake Elliott. Last year, kind of went through the same kind of slump. As you go into the playoffs, you go, boy, we wonder about our kicker. Here's what the head coach had to say about Jake Elliott's struggles.
I have the utmost confidence in Jake. I think like any team, you have ups and downs, and that's just not offense, defense, that's special teams, and that's your kicker too. I have a ton of confidence in him that he'll respond, he'll rebound from this because he's mentally tough and a great kicker, and we have the utmost faith in Jake moving forward.
All right, that's all good. I hope I have faith in him too. Those kicks were exactly the same kick, yanked to the left. So he's got to figure out how to kick it a little differently. Maybe kick it to the right, upright, and curve it in there, and draw it, do a little draw action in there. But he's a good kicker. Okay, there's no other solution. So you got to have to live with it. That you can't go outside right at this point and get another kicker. You just have to have faith in the guy, like the head coach said. All right, Jalen Hurts. Always entertaining for his parables. I love to listen to him. He's like listening to the Zen master. So Jalen on the winning the division for the first time, and the new guys that are involved in winning a division as the Eagles will repeat as NFC titleist. Here's what he had to say.
Absolutely. There's always joy found in winning collectively, truly embracing that. And when guys put the team first, that's when things are truly fun. And you think about all the guys that are onboarded and come into the team. Every team changes every year, and not everyone experiences the same things because they're not here. It always changes. My point is, as a leader and as a quarterback, you want everybody to experience that level of winning. And so this is a first step for us.
All right, there's Jalen. And now he goes over the fact that the winning recipe over his last 5 years as a starter is pretty significant. And I know there's a lot of people that complain that he doesn't do X, Y, or Z, but Jalen Hurts in the playoffs 5 straight years. And here's what he had to say about the winning recipe.
I've said it multiple times. These times, they're rare times. So it's something that we all need to soak in and relish in this moment right now, and take it a day at a time as we always have. But keep the main thing the main thing. Keep the main thing the main thing. That's what we've done for 5 years since everybody's collectively been here. It's been my approach since I've been an Eagle. And I think as a team, just the caliber of guys that we've been able to get with the mentality that, where they come from and their backgrounds, and defensively, the vibe that they have and the continuity that they have, and everything kind of coming together. We just want to continue to improve.
All right, the mouth was a little off on that. It was like one of those old black and white movies where the sound doesn't match up with the mouth. But you got the sense of what he was saying. Keep the main thing the main thing. Now, the Eagles have changed their offensive identity a little bit. They've gone, it's funny because Nick Sirianni got involved in this, so we got to give him a little more credit. Since his involvement, the Eagles' offense have looked different. They are sticking to the run. They are going under center a lot more. They are using A.J. Brown in the slot where he's been really dangerous. Here's what Jalen had to say about the offensive identity and approach the Philadelphia Eagles are taking right now.
I think right now we're finding ways to win. It takes a component of complementary football as all, and that's always the name of the game. And being able to, be efficient. I'm having efficient runs, stay ahead of the sticks, be intentional about what we're doing, set up things, sequence it the way it's supposed to be sequenced, and ultimately be able to adjust. Every game is different. Every game is different. You saw us under center last week. You saw us do more, lots of play action, and even in weeks prior. So I think we can go down every game this year and see a difference in approach. And I think that's okay for us to be, for that to be who we are. We just got to be very smart in what we do and when we do it, and sequence it in the right way, and then ultimately go out there and execute and make the plays.
Yeah, the play action has really been important for the Eagles. They're using a lot more play action. They've got that one guy coming in motion a lot when they're under center. They're doing what other teams like to do and are successful in moving the football with their running game. So all good right now. Not the greatest win, not the most dominant win until you look at the second half when they outscored the Commanders 20-0 and they got the running game going with Saquon. But it was a slog for a little while, and that's what gives us pause where we go, man, is this team really that good of a team? Are they capable of winning the Super Bowl? Let me bring in my producer today, Mike Warren, who follows the Eagles diligently. Mike, come on in here. I want to get your opinion on what you saw yesterday. I read Sealski's opinion on this, that it's not the stuff of champions. How did you see it?
Yeah, I think, the quote from Jalen kind of speaks truest, right? Like each week is a different approach, and whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, I guess we'll find out in the playoffs. But they find new ways to win. And 2 years ago in 2023, that was kind of the story up until after the Bills game when things started to go bad, is that this team finds ways to win. I think the difference between this year and last year is that they actually are finding different ways to win, and it's not ugly. You just mentioned it. They outscored the Washington Commanders 20-0 in the second half, and the defense put up a 0. If you get that more times than not, you're going to win a lot of football games in the NFL, and that's what this defense has done. You also hear Jalen talk about being complimentary, and that's something that this team has done that they didn't do in 2023. So the defense stayed on the field a lot more in 23. The defense is getting off the field now in 25. So there's a lot of differences. The makeup of this team mentally is a lot different than back then, but I think ultimately this team is not where they were last year, and everybody knows that. That's not a surprise, but can you find ways to be complimentary week in and week out? That's what this team has done.
All right, so they have the Bills next week, Mike, and that will be a test for them to see how good they are. If they fall on their face against the Bills, is all lost here in the NFC?
No, I don't think all is lost. I think you got to, go back to making it a season by week kind of a mindset when you get to the playoffs, and understand, you're not going to play your starters against Washington in the final week of the season. It'll be a good test. You'll get to see, another Super Bowl caliber team from the opposing conference, and that's a good level to kind of stack up where you may stack up against a team that could be playing on the final Sunday of the NFL season.
All right, Mikey, thank you. Let's take our first break. We'll come back with our play-by-play as I see it. When I chart a game, I go down on a flow chart, play-by-play. So we'll relive the every moment of this game from the opening kickoff, which was fumbled, to the end where a brawl happened. And we'll talk about that brawl in a little bit. Saquon had a few things to say about that brawl where Tyler Steen was ejected and 2 Washington Commanders over, I think, it was the Eagles going for 2 and and the perception that they were running up the score. This is Birds Brunch with Mike Missanelli. Let's take a break. We're back after this.
Hi, it's Pete from Chicky and Pete's. Warm up this fall with an incredible seafood boil. Try the Uncle George with succulent snow crabs, tasty mussels, and shrimp. There's the Pete's Feast with 2 pounds of sweet succulent crab legs, a dozen shrimp, clams, and a pound of mussels. Or create your own boil. Add a lobster tail or a delicious Dungeness cluster. Include smoked sausage, corn, and potatoes, served in our tasty broth. made with white wine and our signature seasonings. A shellfish lover's dream at Chickies and Pete's.
This is Tommy Green from the 1993 National League champion Phillies. Every champion needs a good game plan. BCWSA and I want to make sure you have a game plan when it comes to conserving our most precious resource, water. Whether you're washing dishes, brushing your teeth, or watering your garden, there are ways you can save water and save money. Visit bcwsa.net for tips on conserving water. BCWSA, proven.
Think banking hasn't changed? Think again. At Penn Community Bank, we've been helping communities thrive for 150 years. From our nationally recognized Access Checking that offers the peace of mind of no overdrafts, to student and free checking plus options with perks that will make you wonder what you did without them, like early direct deposit, overdraft grace, and Zelle. Learn more at penncommunitybank.com/products. Penn Community Bank. Here we grow. Account and feature terms, restrictions, and conditions apply. Ask for full details. Member FDIC.
Your day-to-day life is hectic between having to pick up the kids, make dinner, the countless other tasks that you got to get done. Rob's Automotive and Collision is there to make your life a whole lot easier. Make sure you take advantage of their spacious waiting rooms, the large flat-screen TVs, complimentary coffee and muffins, and free Wi-Fi. So even when you do have to stop, Rob's is there to make you feel right at home. Give Rob's a call today at 215-826-9200 for any of your auto repair needs.
All right, we're back on Birds Brunch with Mike Missanelli. Let's go over the nuts and bolts of this game, the play-by-plays. The Eagles win the game 29-18 with a little brawl at the end, which is the competitive nature of these teams. The Washington Commanders have nothing to play for. They're obviously frustrated that they're getting hammered at that point, so they start some shenanigans. And the Eagles, I've never seen Tyler Steen all steamed up, but he did get all steamed up. All right, so the Eagles come in with a 9-5 record against the 4-10 Commanders. The Eagles, of course, winning the division for the second straight year. In the NFC, they clinch a playoff spot. It looks like they're going to be the third seed in here. Let's start off with they get the kickoff. Washington defers, and Shipley fumbles it. Sanders still punched it out. Washington recovered at the 27-yard line. Mariota hit McLaurin for 9 yards to get a first down, and then Rodriguez gets a first down at the Eagles' 6-yard line. Third and goal situation, though, incomplete with DeJean on a good cover, which gave them 3 points when Moody kicked it through. So it's 3-0 Washington. The Eagles spot the Commanders 3 points in that situation. The Eagles' first drive, not good. They punt in that situation. And somewhere along the line in Washington's second drive of the game, Nakobe Dean gets hurt. So he's out of the game. Campbell has to come in and play the rest of the game. The Eagles' second drive starts at the 35, and this was a really good drive. It would have been my drive of the game if they didn't have that 17-play drive a little later. First down pass to Devontae. Hurts scramble, gets a first down at the Washington 33. Hurts to A.J. for a first down at the 18. Hurts had a touchdown to Smith, but Devontae couldn't handle it, couldn't hold it there. 2nd and 10, Hurts to A.J. for 16 and more. They get to the Washington 3. Barkley powers in a little bit short. Then they go tush push. Formation, tush push, false start. Gets him back, 2nd and goal at the 6, and this is where Hurts comes up with a big play. Hits Devontae for the TD. 4 plays on that drive were at least 14 yards. So that was a really good drive for the Eagles to take command in the 7-3 lead. Washington had punts on their next drive. The Eagles had a drive that fizzled, that began at the 10. Hurts got 16 yards on a first down scramble. Barkley had 9 on the next play. Hurts hit A.J. for 24 yards in this play. Barkley on an RPO gets the first down to the Washington 24. They missed the wide-open A.J. with a high throw. The ball was in his hands. He had to reach above him, but it's a ball he could have pulled in, but he did not. Bad throw. 3rd and 11, incomplete, results in a field goal attempt, 45 yards. Hooks it. No good. All right, Washington. Subsequently, the next drive, they take the lead, a 42 pass from Mariota to McLaurin, where he runs past the Dory Jackson, gets to the Eagle 30, screen pass to Debo for 14 more. They get to the Eagles 11, 3rd and 4 at the 5. Crosley Merritt tried to get in there. It looked like he got in there. They 4th down challenge it. He was short. Rodriguez gets a first down at the 1.5 yard line, and then he punched it in with 3:40 left in the second quarter, and it's 10-7 Washington. The Eagles, Shipley, another kickoff flub. They start the drive at the 19 as they go into the 2-minute warning. Short passes to AJ all drive as they're moving the football. Hurts had the ball knocked out of his hands. He picks it up, but that set up a 3rd and 8 with 25 seconds left. Hits AJ to set up a 4th and 4 and a field goal attempt, 54 yards. He is hooked left. However, Washington offside, lined up offside, gives the Eagles a first down. They get 5 yards closer. Tyler Owens was the guy that jumped offside. That's our non-play of the game, by the way. And then the field goal from 52 is pulled left. So your halftime score, the Commanders up 10-7. We go to the second half. Washington punts on their first possession. Here comes the Eagles' big drive. They begin it at the 17. They get short passes. They get Barkley runs. They get it up to the Washington 40. On a 3rd and 10 at the 40, a swing pass to Shipley, which I thought was a very odd call there. But going for it on 4th down, 4th and 7, Hurts is intercepted. However, illegal contact on the play against Goddard gets the Eagles a first down. On a 3rd and 1, Barkley carries for the first down. On a 3rd and 8, incomplete in the end zone, but pass interference on Washington. So you see a bad team starting to shoot itself in the foot. The Eagles get a first down at the 1. The tush push is stopped. They tush push it again. They get a false start. And then on the 16th, 17th play of the drive, a 3rd and goal, Fred Johnson a hold. So they get it back to the 15-yard line. And this is where Hurts makes the play of the game. Scramble, finds Goddard on the run for the TD, 15 yards, ends a 17-play, 73-yard wild drive. To me, that's the play of the game as the Eagles take a 14-10 lead. Josh Johnson comes in for Mariota. You can see him go into the locker room, had his hand stepped on, but he also had other stuff. And I write down game over because Josh Johnson wasn't going to do anything. And Cooper DeJean picks off a telegraph pass. The Eagles take over at the Washington 37. They get a touchdown out of that by converting a couple of 3rd downs. 3rd and 2, Hurts scrambles on a blitz for a first down. On a 3rd and 4, Barkley to the 12-yard line. And then he bounces in an angry run. Jordan Mailata called it an angry run by Saquon. Gets it in the end zone to go up 21-10. And then 4th quarter drive, the Eagles get Tank Bigsby for a big touchdown pass after Barkley went for 44 yards, 21 carries for 132 at that point. Bigsby in the game, he gets the touchdown to make it 29-10. And a pass interference penalty on Ringo led to Washington TD to 29-18. But the Eagles, the Donnybrook happens after the Eagles go up 29-10. Now let's look at this a little bit. They go for 2. They're up 27-10. 28-10 would have made it, an 18-point game. But 29-10, when you think about it, and you think about the analytics, the only way that Washington get back in the game is 2 8-point touchdowns, which would make them 26, and then they would have been within a field goal. So the Eagles were right to go for 2 in that situation, to at least clinch a tie situation if Washington ever did score that kind of points, get those kind of points. So I don't know what the brawl was about. But in any event, on the chippiness with Washington, Saquon Barkley and Bobby Wagner were the 2 leaders in that. And Saquon was going to join it in, and Bobby Wagner was also going to join into the brawl. But here's what Saquon had to say about the brawl.
We got to be better. We got to be smart. I got to be smart. I shouldn't put myself in that situation. It's really not worth it. Bobby Wagner did a really good job of, making it make sense to me in that moment too. You get to throw 2 or 3 punches at a helmet. Hopefully you don't break a hand just to say you're a tough guy. It's not really worth it. And you lose a lot of money too. So we got to be better there. But I guess it was a theme. We looked back at one point, the fans was fighting in the thing, and I guess it kind of carried over to the game. But it's chippy out there, and we have a lot of history with this team, especially since I've been here, and then they have it in the past. But this team don't like us. That's just the truth, and we don't like them either. But we got to keep it football.
All right, there you go. I kind of like a feisty brawl now and then, even though this team has nothing to play for, the Commanders. So that's frustration taking over for the Commanders. All right, so your Philadelphia Eagles win the game, and let's go to our play of the game. For me, the play of the game absolutely is the Hurts scramble, finding Goddard on the run for the touchdown. Jalen does this probably better than anybody in the league, where he gets off a spot and rolls right Now, not rolling left, but when he rolls right, he usually finds somebody, and he found Goddard for this play of the game. The non-play of the game, I got, Washington, there's a tie for this. They made two really stupid plays. The one, the illegal contact on Goddard in the middle of the field on a 4th and 7, negated an interception. Now, the Eagles would score on that drive, so it negated an interception, and it would have stopped the Eagles from scoring, and Commanders still would have had the lead in this type of situation. But a little earlier in the game, non-play of the game as well, they line up off sides, and they give the Eagles another chance for a field goal, which was not made. But still, I don't understand how you can line up off sides. When you get your helmet over the neutral zone line, they're going to call that every time. They're looking for that. So you got to be careful with that. So 2 non-plays of the game for the Washington Commanders in this situation. All right, let's go with our grades here for the game, and bring in Mike Warren again. Mike, let's do some grades here.
Sure thing.
There he is. All right, let's first of all give your grade for the quarterback.
Jalen, I thought he played an A game. Took control of the ball, kept control of the ball, kept possession with the offense, no turnovers, 2 touchdown passes. Wasn't as mobile as he was last week, but you heard him say in the post game, just trying to be complimentary, and he did everything that was asked of him. So I give him an A. Okay, let's go with the running backs. Saquon, that's an A+ game from him. Yeah, absolutely. Not just with the season. Yeah, easily A+.
And Bigsby as well throwing. Bigsby always seems to make a big play when he gets in there.
Yeah, I like the camaraderie that those two guys have. Like Saquon racing down to the end zone to celebrate with him after he scores shows how tight-knit that room is.
All right, let's go with our wide receiver situation. What do you got?
Wide receivers, I'll say it's a B+. It's a B+ game from them. AJ was on the money. I think the throw where Jalen kind of sails it, that's more on Jalen than AJ, and you can kind of see his frustration in that play. I would give them a B+ game for the wideouts for sure.
Okay, tight end?
Tight end, it was a quiet game for Dallas, but I'll throw him in the B+ territory as well, because I think what the tape showed from last week, what the Eagles did well against Las Vegas, I think Washington was trying to populate the middle of the field, and you saw a lot more throws outside the numbers this week.
All right, let's go to our offensive line. How do you feel about the offensive line's performance in this game?
This was definitely one of the better offensive line performances of the season. I mean, tough not to give him an A. For this game. Saquon gets over 100 yards rushing and a score, 2 rushing touchdowns in the game, and Jalen had all day multiple times to make plays down the field. So it's an A game.
Right,
for
so
the
we're all good on offense. A lot of A grades on offense, Mike.
Yeah. I know. I'm a pretty loose grader, I guess you could say. That might date back to my days in the classroom, maybe. But no, I liked everything that I saw from this Eagles offense in this game. It was complimentary. And when you talk about the makeup of this team this year, it's not a dominant offense, it's a dominant defense. And so when this team can put up points and answer when the other side of the ball is getting stops, they're going to win some football games. So that's what they did against Washington, and that's what they got to continue to do down the stretch here.
All right, let's go defensively then. Your defensive line grade.
My D-line grade, I'm going to give them a B+, mainly just because Jordan Davis has been the focal point of it all. But you look at what Moro Ajomo's done this season, facing the majority of the double teams now that Jalen Carter's out, and the production he's still been able to put up with that. Another good D-line game for them as well, and they still got a ton of pressure, so a B+ game from the line.
Yeah, Ajomo wasn't that great yesterday, but I agree with the B+ because Brandon Graham came in there and picked up some slack. Nolan Smith, it didn't really flash as much as I thought he was going to flash.
Yeah, no, the edge game was quiet yesterday. Jalen Phillips, too. There were a couple times where you didn't see either of them get
quiet. Phillips was quiet. Those guys were quiet. So I'll knock that plus off. I'll give him a B. All right. Linebacker. Now, Campbell had to play a lot in place of Nakobe Dean. I didn't hear much about Campbell, but Zach Bond had another monster game.
Yeah, tough for me not to go A for the linebackers here. Nakobe goes down early. Jihad hasn't been getting a ton of reps, and he comes in and kind of fits in what they needed to do. Not saying he played above any, precedent before that, but this guy, Jihad Campbell, is going to have a long tenure in the NFL if he can stay healthy. And Zach Bond's playing, Zach Bond, bald eagle football. So can't really complain about that. It's an A for them.
All right, back to the corners and safety. How did you think the corners played yesterday? Adoree Jackson chasing down the sidelines was not a good look.
Yeah, I think B plus. I mean, Coop gets the pick, at the end, as you mentioned, it's against a backup quarterback, so you're not going to put too much stock into it. But Quinion wasn't really shadowing Terry McLaurin yesterday. They were still kind of able to spot him at times, but still, ultimately, a good game from the defensive back. So B plus for them.
All right, and your safeties?
Safeties. I guess I put them in the B plus category.
Blankenship made
too.
a couple of tackles, but it wasn't
Yeah.
an overly great game for the safeties. You
Right,
didn't really
yeah.
hear much of them.
Yeah, B
All right.
plus.
Okay. There you go. There are your grades for this game. All right. So let's look now at the rest of the NFL and the slate for today. You got the Bills and Browns. You got the Chargers and Cowboys. You got the Chiefs and Titans. You got the Bengals and the Dolphins. A lot of meaningless games here. Jets and Saints, Vikings, Giants. Now, here's the big one. At 1 o'clock, the Panthers and the Buccaneers. The Panthers hosting the Buccaneers. Both teams 7-7 and going for this division. So the Panthers can really make a strike here and take the lead in the division and get themselves into a playoff mode. Jaguars and Broncos, two hot teams. Jags and Broncos, also another good game. That's a 4:05 game, so you can catch both of those. Falcons and Cardinals, Steelers and Lions, Raiders and Texans, Patriots and Ravens. And then the big one on Monday night, 49ers at Colts. If the Colts beat the 49ers, that takes the 49ers out of that possible first number one seed. But they still have a chance as we speak right now. So, again, looking at the replay of this game, the Eagles clinching the NFC East. First repeat championship since 2004 when Donovan McNabb did it for the Eagles. In the end, it was a great scramble throw by Hurts to Goddard in the third quarter that ended a wild 17-play drive. Then the Cooper DeJean interception off Josh Dobbs led to Saquon grinding out a TD to make it 21-10. And for all intents and purposes, the game was over. And the question we asked, is this good enough to win this one? But is it good enough for the Bills next week or the NFC playoffs? This is a question that we will continue to have. Special teams, 2 messed up kick returns, 3 missed field goals, 1 a second chance field goal attempt. But Nick Sirianni, 5th straight playoff appearance for Nick Sirianni. He's one of only 3 coaches to make the playoffs and win a division 3 times in the first 5 years, but the only one to win a Super Bowl. Chuck Knox and Bill Cowher were the other ones. Saquon Barkley rushing total gets over 130 yards in this game. He did that with 5 minutes left as the Eagles outscored Washington 20-0 in the second half. And it was the third 100-plus game for Barkley this year. The last 4 games, very important. The Eagles averaging 4.96 yards per carry. A lot of that is because they're going under center. And before that, it was 3.91. So very significant. Let me bring Mike Warren in again. Mike, when you see this rushing offense, what do you think is getting it done?
The offensive line play has just been that much better, and I think you're seeing Saquon be more decisive. Jordan Mailata's comments about the aggressive run or the angry run last night, you're going to see more of that, I think, from Saquon because he knows that finishing the run, there's extra yards to be had there, and that puts a little bit more of wear and tear on a defense when you're finishing on top of the tackler versus the tackler finishing on top of you. So I think you're going to see Saquon run a little bit more aggressive. I think you'll see more inside zone and duo type plays up the middle. And then when they need to go under center, they will. But this was kind of, you could tell Stoutland University was just trying to get these guys all on the same page and move as a unit. An offensive line is a unit, and they hadn't been moving as one for the majority of the season. These last handful of weeks, they're getting back to the type of football that Jeff Stoutland and we're accustomed to seeing with the offensive line play.
All right. A lot of people are commenting on the show as we're doing the live show. A lot of people are chiming in here. Let me just say, Jay Sportsman, Mike, I'm very obviously happy to see this offense start to turn, but they're still way behind where they need to be. That's Jay Sportsman, and he's kind of right about that. He comes back with they have to figure out their run game on first down. Their average yards to go on second is almost 8 yards. No good. I thought that was chiseled down a little bit in the game on last night. Tari London, I still understand the play calling. I think he means I still don't understand the play calling. They totally get away from being under center, and he's continuously missing management of time before the 2-minute warning. He let 20 seconds run off and then basically stop the offensive momentum. Well, you want to complain about that? Is that where you should complain about that? I didn't really think about that during this game. But listen, there's always people that want to criticize Nick. Jay Sportsman comes back with, when guys put the team first, things can be fun. Jalen with a loaded statement to AJ. We're still continuing this feud with AJ.
Yeah, I think Hard Knocks shows that they are very good friends, and I think that their relationship on the field is stronger than ever. So, yeah, I think they're all right.
All right, Tree London. I wish Steen put more effort into his blocks as he did when he was fighting. Maybe Saquon wouldn't get stopped in the backfield so much. well, listen, again, it's tough to criticize anything the Eagles did except the special teams and their effort in the first half, because in the second half, Saquon wasn't getting stopped very much. E.G. Butler, why didn't they call a play to get the ball placed on the right hash line? They're talking about the Jake Elliott. I don't know. Yeah. Does that really matter for Jake Elliott? He would almost have to kick it with more English from the right hash line to draw the ball. Like if he was a fader of the ball, the right hash would have been probably better, right?
Yeah, Jake Elliott last night kicking looked a lot like me off the tee box in golf. Consistent, slices to the left, pulling it to the left. That is exactly what it was.
You pull your golf shot, you pull your drive.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I pull them. I pull them big time, Mike.
Jake Elliott also missed a field goal, too, before the half in the Chargers game. Yeah, he did. And again, like we worry about the same thing happened last year, Mike, with the Elliott going into the playoffs. They go, wow, we don't know how good our kicker is going to be.
Yeah, and honestly, this is something that should weirdly provide some calmness to the Eagles fans after this performance, because Jake Elliott, doubled down on himself. There's a reason he's got a C on his jersey. The guys in that locker room like him a lot. And just from my, brief conversations with Merrill being around him as well, he's so well respected by the coaching staff. He's known as in that locker room as being one of not just a really good kicker, but the best athlete potentially in that locker room. So yeah, Jake Elliott's going to figure this out, I think. And I think he's going to dial it up a little bit more to where you're seeing him right through the uprights, right down the middle. But yeah, a little bit of adversity here down the stretch, but he's been in this situation before. So if he's gotten himself out of it, he can do it again, I believe. All
right. So you're very optimistic about this team. I love your optimism today.
Yeah, I'm usually not like this, Mike. I'm a little bit more of a pessimist type of an Eagles fan, but what I'm seeing in terms of the response from the players, not too high, not too low, and they know that there's still meat left on the bone. So good core guys, both coaching wise and in the locker room leadership wise. I think they can get the job done.
All right. Now, again, I'm going to put this in perspective. I don't want to try to be negative Nelly here, negative Missanelli, but they've played two pretty poor teams over the last couple of weeks. So I'm not sure what they are at this particular point. The columnist, Mike Sealski, in today's Enquirer said, this is not the stuff of champions. Well, the NFC champions, okay, but the NFC East stinks, and the NFC East championship is not the goal. Is it Super Bowl is the goal? And it seems unrealistic after Saturday. So I don't know. There are two ways you can go here. Be optimistic on what the Eagles are doing right now with their offense. Their defense has been solid. You can count on their defense. That travels if they have to travel. If they have to go on the road, their defense travels. But the offense, again, it woke up in the second half, did not wake up in the first half against a bad football team. So I think it's justified that people are a little reluctant to go all in on this team. All right, so we'll just have to wait and see. Next week against the Buffalo Bills will be a good test for them. All right, thanks, everybody, for watching Birds Brunch with Mike Missanelli. We'll wrap it up here on that note. The Eagles with a 29-18 win over the Washington Commanders. They clinched the NFC title, and it's the first time since 2004 that there's been a repeat champion in the NFC East, and it happens to be the Philadelphia Eagles. Thanks for getting up Sunday morning with us today. Have a great rest of the day. Watch the football today and follow the playoff picture as we continue to follow what's coming down the home stretch of the NFL football season. For Mike Warren, I'm Mike Missanelli. Thanks, everybody, for watching, and we'll talk to you next week. Bye-bye.